Hi, welcome to my channel and thanks for tuning into this video. Today I'm going to be talking about my Holy Grail brushes, my favorite brushes for face products. So I'm going to go through foundation brushes, concealer brushes, brushes for cream and liquid products, as well as my favorite brushes for powder products on the face. And I suppose sharing my recommendations if you're looking for any particular types of brushes for different tasks. So if you'd like to see all of that, just keep on watching. I wanted to start with foundation brushes. So I have 3 to show you here. I just have to apologize, most of my brushes aren't cleaned right now. Planning to do a big clean in a couple of days, but I still wanted to do this video and show you my top brushes. So the first foundation brush I wanted to talk about is the Westman Atelier blender brush. So this was the first brush that I really loved for foundation, and I still do love it. It's 100% synthetic fibers, but it is handmade, very well made. The bristles are very soft and they're quite flexible for a synthetic fiber brush, and it just makes really quick and easy work of blending out your foundation. The next one I wanted to talk about is this Wayne Goss. This is from the Goss Edit collection, and this is the number 2 brush from that. I think it's still only sold as a set, that whole collection, but I expect at some point he'll probably start selling these brushes individually. If I wanted to get a foundation brush from the line, this one would be it. And this is probably my favorite for applying foundation, but it's 100% goat hair, so it's all natural fibers. So natural fibers tend to be just a bit more delicate than synthetic fibers, and it's not recommended to wash these natural hair brushes as frequently as you can wash fully synthetic hair brushes. However, I just love the way that this applies foundation. It's very flexible. It's the most flexible of the 3 I'm going to show you, and it just gives a really beautiful sheared out, very natural application of your foundation. So I really love this one, but I try not to use it too much because it is natural fiber and I don't want to be too tempted to wash it too often, but this is really beautiful for applying foundation. And then the last foundation brush I wanted to talk about is this Sonia G Fusion brush. It is the Jumbo Base. This one is available individually, and she has restocked the Fusion collection. I'm not sure if this one's still in stock, but it's a permanent collection, so it will be coming back in at some point if it's not in stock right now. This is kind of the best of both worlds. So where we have the fully synthetic Westman Atelier, this one isn't quite as flexible. Even though it's one of the best quality synthetic brushes that I have, there's still a slight tendency to just drag a little bit on the skin. It still blends everything out perfectly, but there's just that slight feeling of a little bit of a drag with this one because of those synthetic fibers. It's just the nature of those fibers. This one, the Jumbo Base from Sonia G, is a combination of synthetic and natural goat hair bristles. So you're getting the best of both worlds here. You get that flexibility, that real feeling of it just gliding onto your skin from the natural bristles that are in this, but it also has a little bit more resiliency and strength because of the synthetic fibers that are in it too. And this one is really great for foundation. It has a shape such that you can really get into even those harder to get areas, so like around your nose and under your eyes and so on, very easily, and it makes very quick work of applying your foundation. So that's the Jumbo Base from the Sonia G Fusion collection. Now moving into brushes for concealers as well as for liquid and cream products that I really love. The first one I wanted to mention is this little Sephora magnet brush. It's this little angled brush, synthetic fibers, and these were on sale for $5 for quite a while at Sephora. I don't know if they're still available, but this is one that I use pretty much every day if I'm doing an under eye corrector. I love to use this brush, and this was my only concealer brush for quite a while as well, and it worked perfectly for whatever concealing jobs I needed to do. But these days I use it mostly just for applying under eye corrector, like the Charlotte Tilbury one or the Becca one. I just go right into the pot or the pan and just tap it right under my eyes, and it basically blends itself out. The next concealer brush is the one that I probably use the most. This is actually called the setting brush. It's a Real Techniques brush, also 100% synthetic fibers and very affordable. This is my favorite for when I'm doing a lot of concealer. So on a day-to-day basis, I often don't wear foundation, but I'll wear a little bit of concealer just in certain areas and blend it out with this brush, and this blends it out so quickly and easily. It's nice and big and it's quite flexible and fluffy. So it just, again, it allows a really nice sheer but even application of a product. And it works really well in blending it out so that you only have to add it to certain areas and you're not even really going to notice that you have concealed certain areas and you don't have any base product on other areas. It just creates a really beautiful seamless finish, and it's super quick and easy to use. So that's the Real Techniques setting brush. And then the last concealer brush I wanted to talk about was the soft concealer. Again, this is from the Sonia G Fusion collection, so it has that combination of natural and synthetic fibers. And because of that, it has a little bit more of a flow because of those natural fibers, I find. But it has the strength and resiliency that synthetic fibers have. And this I find is great. It's quite dense. It's not as big as this one and not as flexible, but this is great for smaller, more concentrated concealer applications. So if I have a particular blemish that I just want to get right onto that, I just kind of pat this on it, and that works really well. It also works really well for touching up. If for example, I've got a bit of eyebrow gel or something that's gotten onto my skin around my eyebrows, I can just take this with whatever concealer is left on it and just kind of pat that out. Or, you know, get right into these small areas under the eyes or around the nose, or touch up the corners of my lips or whatever. So this is really great for a more concentrated, but still really soft and diffused concealer application. Another brush that I wanted to talk about, which is quite multi-purpose. I can use this for concealer, so in the same way that I would use this one, I use this one. This one isn't quite as flexible because it's just not as fluffy. It's a more densely packed brush, but this is great for doing that kind of all over larger concealer areas as well. But I also love this for cream highlight and liquid highlight and cream and liquid blushes, especially the highlight area because it's a little bit smaller. It still covers the size of area that I like to have highlighter. I don't really usually do like a really pinpointed highlighter. I just kind of like to have it all over the top of my cheekbone and then bring it up onto the temples a little bit. So this is the perfect size for that, and it's perfect for like the Lisa Eldridge highlighter, the liquid one. You can just dot the product on your face and then pretty much just kind of pat it in with this, and it works perfectly. This is also perfect with my Salt New York Radiant Cream Tints. They're highlighters. I love those and use them on a day-to-day basis. And this is just the easiest brush to use with them. I just dot right into the pans, dot it onto my face, and it's pretty much blended itself out, and it's applied in just the perfect area that I want it to be. So that's the mini base from Sonia G. It can also be used for foundation if you wanted to. It's just a little bit small for my preference for foundation. So this is also part of the Fusion Set's combination of synthetic and natural fibers. So it really does give you the best aspects of both of those types of fibers. And then another one from the Fusion series, this is the classic base, and it's basically like a bigger version of the mini base, and this is perfect for cream blushes and liquid blushes for me. I like to do quite a lot of blush, and again, I'm not really into like a very pinpointed application. I just kind of like to have it all over my cheek, and especially right on the apples of my cheeks. And so this works perfectly with like this, again, the Lisa Eldridge liquid or cream blushes, as well as my salt blushes, which I use on a daily basis. Again, just like the highlighter, I can just dip right into the pans and pat it out onto my face, and it just works perfectly. This could also be used for foundation, and I do really want to try that. I just haven't done it yet. I'm going to have to wash it and then try it with foundation when it's clean, but I am really curious to see how it will work for that job as well. Now moving into brushes that I use for powder products. The first two I want to talk about are these two from Wayne Goss. This is the Large Artist brush. This is the #1 brush from his Edit collection. They're basically the same brush, but just made with different fibers. This one is Blue Squirrel. This one is Goat Hair. The Blue Squirrel is great for picking up more heavily pigmented, traditional soft powder products. It's a very delicate brush, so it doesn't pick up too much product, but that makes it perfect for products that are easier to pick up. And I use this mainly for bronzer application. This one I also use mainly for bronzer application, and it's perfect for those types of bronzers that are just a little bit harder to pick up. So the baked formulas, baked gelée formulas, or maybe more lightly pigmented formulas. This is really perfect because it just has a little bit more grip. It's still super soft and fluffy, but it has a little bit of a better ability to get into those harder pressed types of bronzers. For blush, I have two here as well. One is the Sonia G Soft Cheek, and one is the Classic Face from the Sonia G Kiyaki set. They're both goat hair. This one is all dyed hair, and this one is a mixture of dyed and undyed hair. And sort of similar to the bronzers, I like each one for a different type of blush formula. So this is one that's perfect for traditional soft powder blushes because it's very, very soft and very fluffy, and it's not going to pick up too much product. This one has the capability to pick up just a little bit more. I find that the undyed goat hair is just a little bit coarser feeling. It's often just better at getting into those a little bit harder to pick up products, but it still gives a really soft and diffused application. And the size of each of these is just really great for blush. For me, it's going to cover the whole area I want it to pretty quickly, but then I can also kind of turn it on its side or maneuver it in a way that I can get a more targeted application if I want to increase the pigment just in certain areas. Now getting into the last of the face brushes I wanted to talk about today, I wanted to talk about smaller face brushes. First one I'll talk about is the Goss Air brush. Now apparently this is out of stock. I don't know if it's ever coming back, but if you wanted one that's very similar, you could get the Goss medium artist brush. I don't have it out here, but it's the one that has the handle like this, and it's closer to the size of this one. The shape is different though because it's more shaped like this and rounded and then comes to a point at the tip. This is all blue squirrel hair, and this is just great for a really soft powder application for me. I don't like to apply powder all over my face usually. I just do it in targeted areas. So this is perfect like for loose powder, especially because it's so soft. It's not going to pick up too much product, and it's just going to really softly diffuse and apply the powder right where you want it, which for me is usually around the nose, under the eyes, and in the T-zone. So that's the airbrush from Goss. And the other one that's kind of similar in size to the airbrush is, again, from the Goss Edit Collection. It's the number 3 brush. So this comes to a point, just like the medium artist brush does. But again, this is undyed hair, and so I find that it has a little bit more resiliency. I feel I can wash it a little bit more. Sometimes the airbrush will shed a little bit, so it's better with loose powder where you're getting quite a lot of product and it's not likely to drag it all on the face. This one, I haven't had issues with it shedding. This is perfect for a pressed powder and a little bit more coverage from your powder. So I like to use this with my Makeup Forever Matte Velvet Skin. It works really well with that. It also works really well with a baked gelée type of formula like the Chantecaille blurring powder. This is able to really get in there and pick up the amount of product that you need of that, which is very hard pressed and can be really hard to pick up with something like this, which is just a little bit too soft for that type of a product. This one gives you the softness, but it also has the strength to pick up those harder pressed products. And then the last two brushes I wanted to talk about were for highlighters. The first one here, this is the Sculpt 3 from Sonia G, and this is perfect for those highlighters that are really hard to pick up. So if you are trying to choose one of these two brushes for highlighter, if you prefer a baked gelée formula, a formula that's really hard in the pan and a little bit tougher to pick up with a soft brush, this one is going to be perfect. This can get into any hard formula, so it's really, really good at picking up those baked formulas and applying them very easily and quickly. If you prefer a more traditional powder highlighter, I'd recommend something like this. This is the Mini Cheek from Sonia G. This, just like the Classic Face, is a mixture of dyed and undyed, so it still has that power to pick up slightly more hard pressed highlighters, but it is soft enough that it's not going to give you too strong or harsh of an application. You can get to cover a good area of your cheek, but if you wanted less or just to target it in certain areas, you can kind of turn it on its side and get whichever type of application you want. So I think that's everything I wanted to say about these face brushes for this video. Let me know if you'd like me to do one on eye brushes. It would probably be a bit shorter. I wouldn't have quite as many eye brushes that I'd want to talk about. But if you're interested in that, let me know and I can do a video on eye brushes as well. Let me know if you have any other comments or questions. And if you'd like to see more from me and you haven't subscribed to my channel already, I'd really love for you to do so. Thanks so much for watching. Take care, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.